Here, on a gray Thursday morning in East Berlin, November 9th, 1989, I am counting coins beside a silent telephone on the counter that will later refuse to connect anyone. The office of our small travel bureau on Friedrichstraße smells of damp wool coats and cheap coffee, the kind that leaves a skin on top if you forget it for more than a minute. Outside, the traffic moves in its usual slow, resigned rhythm, trabants coughing blue smoke, while a tram bell nags its way through the intersection, as if nothing in this city could possibly change by nightfall. Across the street, the wall is not a spectacle, but a background fixture, like bad wallpaper. Its concrete panels streaked with November drizzle, old slogans half scrubbed away. I stamp forms for domestic train journeys that no one really wants to take, my rubber date stamp leaving a faint echo on the desk, a metronome for a system that insists it will go on. A radio on the shelf mutters the morning news under a layer of static, the announcer's voice flat, practiced, and careful, and I listen mostly for what he does not say, wondering what might be missing between his measured sentences, as if a sentence has been misplaced. The first signal is a tiny misprint on the timetable pinned above my desk, a new column of special crossings that no one has explained to us, printed in smaller type as if the letters themselves are unsure. I run my finger down the page, tracing station names I have never visited, and the paper feels slightly damp, as though it has absorbed the fog of the city's breath. A woman in a brown coat asks whether the rumors about easier travel are true, and I answer with the only safe phrase I know: "We have no official information." She nods, but her eyes stay on the timetable, as if it might suddenly rearrange itself, and I catch myself checking the date stamp again, wondering if the ink knows more than we do. Paper rules, concrete borders. Near midday, the office grows warmer, the windows fogging from the exhalations of people who pretend not to be waiting for something. My colleague Dieter leans on the counter, his tie loosened, and whispers that the party held a press conference this morning, that someone mentioned new regulations for leaving the country, but no one here has received a single sheet of guidance. He shrugs, the gesture small, but heavy, and we both look at the locked drawer where the travel permits are kept, as if it might tell us what to do when the first real question arrives. And the old answers no longer sound convincing, like a script missing its final page. Unclear orders, crowded hallway, ticking clock. Inside the staff canteen after work, the air is thick with cabbage steam and cigarette smoke, the kind that clings to your hair long after you leave. A television bolted high in the corner shows the evening news, the picture slightly green. The sound turned low, so we have to lean in to catch the words. Up to this point, the rules have been simple. You do not ask about the wall unless you want trouble, and you do not talk about leaving unless you are drunk or alone. Now, the spokesman on the screen shuffles his papers, misreads a note about travel, and says people can leave immediately without delay. And the room falls into a silence so complete that even the cutlery seems to hesitate, as if the entire canteen is holding its breath, waiting to see if someone will correct him. Confusion tastes like overcooked cabbage. Across the city, by late afternoon, the light drains away early, leaving the streets under a flat, metallic sky that makes the concrete look even colder. I walk home along my usual route, past the bakery that has already sold out of fresh bread, past the kiosk where Western magazines are displayed behind glass like contraband art. But the larger question is whether that one sentence on television means anything at all, or whether it will be corrected, withdrawn, explained away by morning, leaving us embarrassed for having hoped. I pass a notice board covered in official posters, And for the first time, I notice how the corners are peeling, the glue giving up its grip, like the edges of a story that no longer quite sticks, as if the wall of paper is loosening one corner at a time. Old posters, new rumors, restless feet. At the edge of Bornholmer Straße, near 7 p.m., I decide not to go straight home, but to follow the thin current of people moving toward the checkpoint. As if drawn by a magnet, we are all pretending not to feel. The air smells of wet asphalt and fried onions from a nearby imbus, and somewhere a dog barks in short, impatient bursts. The border lights are already on, casting a yellow sheen over the watchtowers, and I can see the barrier arm that has always come down with such certainty, now motionless, as if waiting for instructions that have not arrived. And for a moment, the whole street seems to pause with it. Like a held breath stretched across the asphalt, the barrier waits, and so do we. On this street, the crowd thickens near 8 p.m., not yet a mass, but no longer a line. People cluster in loose knots, their breath visible in the cold. A man beside me clutches his passport so tightly the cover bends, and he keeps glancing at the small guardhouse where the border officers move in short, purposeful lines that seem less confident than usual.
Is it true?
From here on, the questions become bolder. Is it true? Can we cross? What did he say on television? The officers answer with shrugs, with requests for patience, with the familiar phrase, "We have no clear orders," and the words feel smaller than the crowd pressing against them, as if language itself is struggling to keep up, waiting for a decision that refuses to arrive. Orders shrink, questions grow larger. Inside the checkpoint office, which I glimpse through the window when the door opens, the fluorescent light is harsh, flattening the faces of the officers into pale, tired masks. Papers are stacked in uneven piles, permits and forms that once decided who could move and who could not, now shuffled and reshuffled, as if a new rule might appear between the pages. One officer picks up the phone, the same model that sits in my office, and listens, his jaw tightening, then loosening, then tightening again, before he hangs up without saying a word to us outside, leaving the line between open and closed hanging in the cold air, like a sentence that stops just before the verb. The phone connects, but not clearly. Across the barrier, on the West Berlin side, I can see brighter lights, neon signs blurred by distance, and the faint outline of television cameras already in place, pointed toward us like patient, unblinking eyes. The open loop of the timetable, the misprinted promise of special crossings, hangs in my mind as the officers huddle again, their breath clouding the glass of the guardhouse window. Then, near 9 p.m., one of them steps out, walks to the control booth, and with a motion that looks almost casual, lifts the barrier arm that has defined our horizon for as long as I can remember, turning that uncertain line of ink on paper into a real passage. And the rumor on the timetable finally finds its answer. A casual gesture redraws the map. Near the wall itself, as people begin to move, first in cautious steps, then in hurried ones, the old rules crumble faster than the concrete beneath the graffiti. The telephone that failed in my office, the one that could not deliver clear instructions, has been replaced by word of mouth, by shouts passed along the line, "They're letting us through at Bornholmer." No stamp needed. The decision made without clear guidance becomes a floodgate. And the image everyone has been waiting for. People crossing freely, some laughing, some crying, some just walking as if afraid to wake up, spreads from this checkpoint to the others, checkpoint to checkpoint, like a new timetable written in footsteps that no one can misprint. And the unanswered calls of the day are resolved in the sound of feet on concrete. borders blur under ordinary shoes. At the edge of the night, as I finally step onto the bridge and cross, I notice how ordinary the surface feels under my boots, the same rough concrete as any other street, and yet every step lands differently in my chest. On the west side, strangers press beer into our hands, cameras flash, and someone offers me a banana as if it were a golden ticket. But my mind keeps circling back to the small failures and hesitations that opened this path, the misprinted schedule that hinted at crossings, the unanswered phone that carried no firm command, the officer's shrug before he raised the barrier that had always stayed down. This is not the story of a single heroic act, but of a system that could no longer hold its own weight, of people who, when the rules fell silent, moved forward, because standing still suddenly felt stranger than crossing. This is one moment in a longer archive of cities shaped by time,